Leicester 1, Wolves nil. A pretty muted, pretty poor performance. I don't think we played particularly well going forward. I think we just looked completely sort of null with ideas. We just weren't quick enough in transition. We weren't playing the ball around quick enough, and as you can tell, not very enthusiastic about this review. It was just, it was one of those games where it just saps the life out of you, almost. It was another one of those performances, if we can sort of dub it as those performances, where we just don't seem to do much. We defended with a low block for the majority of the game, despite even going behind. Even when we were 1-0 down, we still had about 7 players back. I think Ruben Neves really was one of the only players that stuck out to me that was really trying to do something. Pedro Neto, Pedence, Jimenez, they just couldn't get into the game. Despite trying their best to do something, we just couldn't do anything. To be fair to Leicester, they defended very well. The penalty, it'll be contentious. Obviously, it did hit Kilman's hand, but then you do have to debate, how close was it to him? Was he able to get his hand out the way in time? We'll have to see if that's the case. I personally, when I saw it, I thought, that's probably going to be given. The 8 Nouri one, clear penalty really, wiped him out. Fantastic save by Patricio, who's yet again shown that he can get us out of tight spots with brilliant goalkeeping, but we didn't take advantage of it. I think from then we should have really tried to go for the game, but it was more of the same. Leicester just dominating most of it, and we did play a bit better in the second half, but it wasn't anything special. Adam Traore was nullified, and like I said before, the wingers just couldn't get into the game. Neves could have equalised if not for a fantastic save as well by Schmeichel. So I think Neves was probably the standout player for me in that sense. He was the only one who looked really like creating much. Semedo was decent. And to be honest, we weren't troubled defensively. We just didn't have anything going forward. And that's the problem. I don't think that we were particularly bad at all. I think defensively we were actually quite good considering the quality of the players that Leicester have. But going forward, it just absolutely dreadful at points. It's just nothing, absolutely nothing there. So, this team needs to be a bit more consistent if we want to try and get into the top 6, if that is the target for them this year. Not a brilliant one. Let's hope the next game's better against Southampton, who are goal scorers. That'll be an interesting one.
So, look, Leicester. To me, Leicester are a good side. Top of the league now. Haven't they won the last 5 or 6 on the round? So it was always going to be a tough test, to be honest. Was it a penalty by the letter of the law? Clearly was, but obviously he's gone over to the VAR screen and he's watched it at a different speed. Look, things went against us today, but the reality is, we've lost to a very good side. Patricio, great save, obviously, the second one. But look, we've got to beat these teams if we want to compete with them. Just disappointing to keep seeing, for me, Traore start on the bench. It would have been nice to see him out there today, but who do you drop for him? It's a difficult one. You can see we have obviously got a lot of strength and talent in depth, but it's what decisions does Nuno make. Look, we're having a good season. Results have been good. It's been a good start. There's no need to panic, no need to worry. In Nuno we trust, as I always say, and keep tuning in to Talking Wolves and all the good work they do. And thanks for having me on. Over and out.
Hello, Talking Wolves. So Leicester 1, Wolves 0. Going into the game, I didn't know what to make of it, to be honest. I did predict 4-1 Wolves, but I was just trying to be optimistic. It's a tough game, isn't it? Leicester away, they're a good team. They're going to be up there. And it's always going to be hard to go to Leicester and get a result. We set up with the same team again as we did when we beat Palace, which everyone expected. And the bloke who shined in that game really struggled today. 8 Nouri. Looked very shaky defensively. We hardly had a chance, did we, first half? It was all Leicester. We would have sat back. We had a few chances to counter-attack, but we didn't do it well at all. We just couldn't really get anything going. And then it's the penalty decision, which was hugely controversial. The ball smacks into Kilman's arm. I honestly thought it was ball to hand at first. The referee goes and checks it, but when he does check it, it's a really slowed down version, so he gives the penalty. I agree with what they said at half-time in the studio, Micah Richards and Jamie Carragher. If he shows that in real time, I don't think he gives it, because it was ball to hand for me, and that rule is very confusing, and VAR seems to be the talking point every single game at the moment in the analysis. But anyway, they do score. Then the second penalty is definitely a penalty. Ait-Nouri with a bad touch and then with a clumsy foul, which was a bit of an inexperience from him. And thankfully, Rui saved it. So we had a chance. We was in the game. We come out second half and we looked a bit more lively. First 15 to 20 minutes of the second half was pretty similar to the first half, to be honest. But then we really turned it on. Neves' shot, I thought it was in. Great save from Schmeichel. I honestly thought that was the equaliser. Den Donkers with a great ball from Neves again. Just places it wide. Probably should have hit the target. But also at the other end, Leicester. Harvey Barnes gets blocked by Kilman. Absolutely incredible block. And Bolly made a great block on Maddison as well, just before that one. So on the run of play in the whole 90 minutes, I think Leicester deserved the win. They really did. We'd have probably arguably have stole a point if we would have got the equaliser on the run of play. And it was always going to be tough. But Leicester did what they needed to do. They got all 3 points. I know fans are going to be frustrated and want to blame the referee, but you can probably look at ourselves as well, can't you, that we weren't more positive from the off. Sorry this was a bit long-winded. Disappointed because Leicester go top now and that could have been us, but we're still in and amongst it, and it's disappointing to lose just before the international break. But bring on the next game. Hope we can improve from here. And I also just want to say, Bolly was my man of the match. Shout out to Samido, I thought did well, right wing back as well. And yeah, Ait-Nouri probably needs to improve, and Marcel did well when he come on, so he might be left wing back next time. That's all I've got to say. Cheers.
Well, Wolves really did just revert back to type, I'm afraid. We looked so much better against Newcastle and Palace. And you're thinking coming into this game, with a real air of positivity about it, and thinking, you know, Leicester are flying, but there's no reason why we can't go there and do a job. And just from the start, Leicester were at it. They were moving the ball quickly in midfield, and I'd love Wolves to be like that, but we're just not like that. I don't know what it is, whether it's a system, but I am starting to get quite bored of watching Nuno's Wolves. It's when you're not winning games, it's absolute drivel to watch. It's so negative. But the biggest factor in the reason why we lost that game is because of Anthony Taylor's incompetence. Now, I feel a little bit sorry for him because he's clearly a man who's struggling to do his day-to-day job, because he's obviously not cut out. He's clearly struggling to be a Premier League referee. Not to watch that back in real time is those levels of incompetency in any job would mean that someone will be looking for job seekers allowance, because it's just not on. You're meant to be Premier League referees at the height of their profession, and they're making these stupid mistakes week in, week out. Even the head of VAR there, seen on camera, saying it's not a penalty. Head should roll, but they won't, and it'll be the same old with another team next week. But that's not an excuse for the reason Wolves lost the game. Wolves never looked like winning the game. They never looked like competing. It was one-dimensional. Ait-Nouri dropped a stinker, gave away a stupid penalty. Never looked like doing anything going forward or defensive. And again, he's young. There's going to be inconsistencies. I thought that Jimenez went missing. One of the worst I've seen him in a Wolves shirt. Semedo probably is the only positivity from that. I thought he was excellent. He was the only one who really showed any ambition going forward and really drove the team forward. He looks a fantastic player, and it's I'm glad we've got him, and he's an astute upgrade on Doc. But it's not good enough. It's really not good enough. Never looked like winning the game. Never looked like we were going to in with a shout of winning it. That's got to change. If we want to be looking at getting European football, we've got to be further up the pitch. We've got to be more progressive. We've got to play through the thirds, and we've got to have more attempts at goal. It's not acceptable.
Just what's the point? What's the point when we play like that? There's literally just no point. It's boring from start to finish. It was just dreadful. Again, we have to go back down to a goal down at half time, which, I mean, we can debate the VAR decision all we want. It was, let's be completely honest with ourselves, it was a shocking decision, but VAR didn't determine the rest of the game, and that didn't total our rest of the performance. If we would have drawn or won the game, no one would have been talking about that VAR decision. Kilman's running, it's hit his hand, it's not a penalty. You know, the incompetence of the officials do give it though, but you've got to sometimes kind of get on with that. But what I feel as though the big frustration is more, again, the performance. We saw Crystal Palace that we can play nice attacking football and we can get at teams. It just seems as though that game now is an anomaly. As the rest of the season, we've played like that and we've been poor. I mean, how we've got ourselves in the position due to, you know, probably our ability just shining through on there as well. When you're against someone like Leicester, similar ability, if not Leicester probably do edge it a little bit, you're going to get beaten by these teams pretty comfortably. I mean, it was for the last 5 minutes. We needed to get the ball forward on there. You wouldn't think we was a goal down. And we're still passing it backwards the way we were doing in the first half. It's shocking. It's not good. I mean, Raul Jimenez, what did he do today? He played in every other position apart from the position that Nuno told him to play in. I mean, what is the point on there as well of having him when he's playing that bad? I mean, it's not as if we've got a talented youngster who could potentially shine through, who kind of needs game time at this moment in time. It's just not very good. I mean, call me a moaner all you want, call me all like this happy clapper or whatever. At the end of the day, we've played like that for weeks now. Since the start of the season, really. We've played like that with the exception of Crystal Palace. And we don't look like improving.